My mom and dad's collection was representative of their passions. Dad loved that outdoors, the wild nature. He loved being active, playing golf, riding horses, and those were the things that he collected.
Both Dad and Mom wanted their collection to be very special. Whether it was Fabergé or artwork or wardrobe, that was what they were about. Very rarely as a child was I starstruck. Well, if your dad's Bing Crosby, who's kind of more special than that?
Swinging on the Star, the private collection of Bing and Kathryn Crosby, it's more than an auction. It's a look into the golden age of Hollywood. It's a feeling, it's the holidays. It's really looking into the private side of an incredibly famous public star. It includes objects that reflect how they were true connoisseurs and collectors of fine art and works by Fabergé, as well as a more intimate look into their lives in Hillsborough. As much as Bing Crosby is the superstar and the name that we all know, I think in researching this collection, we realize what a tour de force Kathryn was as well, and the passion that she shared with Bing was for Fabergé.
Mom and Dad were an amazing love story because she was a little contract player at Paramount, and he was the biggest star on earth. And she was walking by his dressing room with armfuls of petticoats up to here. She could barely see over them. And he said, "Hey, Tex, what's your hurry?" And of course, she said the petticoats just dropped on the floor. They courted for a good amount of time. After several failed attempts at marriage, she said, "I'm going to go back home." And she didn't talk to him for a year.
He wrote the most incredible letter. It basically said, "I love you forever, anytime, any place, you name it, and I'm yours."
And she had her chaperone negotiate. She can continue her acting, she can continue her nursing. And they met on the steps of the church in Nevada at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is how they got married. Fabergé is so special in their lives. And when they were newly married, Dad said, "I would like to get you something very special if you get your nursing degree." And she said, "I would love a piece of Fabergé."
Anyone who was anyone in Hollywood was collecting Fabergé at the time. So it wasn't just Bing Crosby. It was Frank Sinatra. It was Yul Brynner. It was truly the category of objects that was associated with Hollywood aristocracy. So she went to Fabergé and Bing bought her a stick pin. Collecting Fabergé was a real pursuit for them and a real sport to find the pieces that they wanted and that would fit into their collection.
She became so knowledgeable about the process, the beauty, the intricacies, the complexities of Fabergé.
And he loved them too, very much loved them. But he loved, I think, watching her develop this incredible, deep knowledge of each of these pieces.
Anytime there was something to celebrate, a birthday, a child, she would get a piece of Fabergé.
There was a Fabergé box on the table, and it was one of the largest Fabergé boxes I've ever seen. And in the box was the largest hardstone carving of a Fabergé animal. It was an incredible lion made out of aventurine quartz with diamond-set eyes. And not only that, it had its original price tag from Fabergé with its stock number, with its price, which was 3,000 rubles. I mean, if there was one piece of Fabergé that gives you all of Hollywood glamour, if you think of the MGM lion, this is it. And next to the lion was, relatively in scale, a tiny but incredibly luminous sapphire model of a mouse. that absolutely glowed with all these periwinkle colors with a diamond set tail and diamond set ears.
One may look bigger than the other, but they are of equal strength and form.
Well, that old man river, that old man river.
Bing Crosby's voice is one of the most recognizable voices internationally. He was the first multimedia star, so he became the king of broadcast, of song, and theater. He was famous for his glittering blue eyes and his soulful crooning voice, but more than that, he really encapsulated Hollywood of his time.
Just keeps rolling along.
Dad was a first mover in film, where they went from silent films to talkies, and was able to sing, act, won an Academy Award, and went on to start a record company that became Decca Records, which is now part of Universal Music.
In his youth, he was very hungry and achieved so much. He was the top of the heap for a very long time. I don't think there's anything like it nowadays in terms of that golden age.
Hi, group.
He loved the work. He loved the song. And when he was writing a screenplay or improvising or learning a dance move or singing a song, that was what it was about. It wasn't about the accolades or the recognition.
If you wanted to see a movie that Dad had done, you had to go see it somewhere else. He only ever watched his movies once. We were so in love with the road pictures because they're fun and they clearly had the best time. He always had such a good time with Bob Hope. And of course, Rosie Clooney was his favorite.
He had the ability to make things look easy, but there was a lot of preparation that went into that, making it look easy. Knowing the lines and hitting the marks and doing the dance. If you look at all the road pictures, a lot of that was improvised. So that kind of just underscores his, amazing work ethic and his easygoing nature.
He applied not just that brilliance to his entertainment career, but to his collecting. Some highlights of the sale that center more around Bing Crosby and his career are his American Music Award, his Broadcasting Awards. We have an annotated script for White Christmas starring Bing Crosby. The song itself was a massive hit, reaching the #1 spot on the Billboard charts more than any other song in America. And here you can see Bing Crosby's personal handwritten annotations on the script.
Oh, there's no place like home.
I always felt that everybody in the world got one Christmas and our family got two because we would shoot the Christmas shows in November. And it was so much fun to just be together as a family and sing Christmas carols and meet all these incredibly interesting guest stars.
The actors who have now grown into great success that started there. Michael Landon and Glenn Campbell, a number of different folks that co-performed with Mom and Dad and all of us.
I think the most interesting combination was Dad and Bowie. It was the last Christmas show he shot. David didn't want to do it. He told his mom that there'd been this opportunity to work with Bing Crosby, and his mom said, "Oh no, you absolutely have to do this with Bing Crosby." He walked onto the set wearing full makeup, long mink coats, and bright red lipstick. David clearly had his style, and here he is with Bing Crosby.
Dad was always interested in young artists and new artists and the way music was changing. He was always curious and always growing. He was a very young spirit.
They sat at the piano and both started to sing, and you could see them both just go, "This is going to be great," because they were such extraordinary musicians. And I think music transcends all generations and all styles.
That's a plenty.
The basement was full of reels and tapes. I think Dad saved everything. Even though he wouldn't watch it again, he wanted to make sure that he had it. So there were things that disappeared in history that were in our basement.
The family had reel upon reel of Bing Crosby's films and shows. In the sale, there are reels for Robin and the Seven Hoods, for the Bells of St. Mary's, and for High Society. Another highlight of the sale is the original piano from High Society. Bing starred in High Society with Frank Sinatra and Grace Kelly, and the piano plays a very central role in that story. The piano must have gone into storage after having filmed the movie and then eventually made its way into a piano shop. When Bing and Kathryn got married and bought their retreat in Hillsborough, they clearly wanted to fill the house with music, and so it was natural to figure out what piano would fit their interior.
They went to this warehouse full of pianos. And they were showing them all the fancy Steinways and the Grands. And Mom looked across the warehouse and said, "What's that piano in the corner?" And they said, "Oh, well, that's the piano from High Society." And that's the one that they chose. So it has extraordinary provenance.
We did grow up with that piano. We had piano lessons. Dad would have musicians that would come up and perform. The Sirard was very much the centerpiece of the house, and it was an active piano. It was played on by lots of different folks and incredible artists.
I think Hollywood was what he loved, but it was only part of what he loved. And then the downtime with golf or fishing or hunting was the other side of the coin. Dad was the greatest star in the world, but he balanced that out by being in nature, by being with animals, by being with horses. Horses are extraordinary. Obviously, I have backdoor horses, but he loved them in all their incarnations. They get you outside. They're gloriously intelligent. They're much more intelligent than human beings. And I think that was always very much a part of what he loved. It could be a quarter horse, it could be racehorses, it could be hunting. He just loved them all. And you can see that in his collection.
The sale includes really important paintings, one of which is by Munnings. It is a huge painting, a hunting scene evocative of Christmas morning. Alongside the Munnings, there is a Corot and a Renoir. These two paintings are inspired and talk to one another.
The Renoir is kind of an ode to Corot. They were both landscapes with some cattle grazing. It's a beautiful part of what he experienced growing up and part of his appreciation of ranching.
There are Russian paintings by Gluckman. There's a Maurice de Vlaminck. In addition to the Munnings, Renoir, and Corot, Bing Crosby also had collected some of the most important pieces of Western art. And we have two really important works by Russell, which are stunning. If you look at Bing Crosby's film and song over, really, there was a real period of his life dedicated to the American cowboy. So his songs and his films are in lockstep with some of the very important pieces of art he was collecting.
My dad loved being active. He loved playing golf.
Dad was an avid golfer, and he did so much for the sport of golf because he actually created the first Pro-Am.
Was very involved in philanthropy and developing what is now the AT&T Pebble Beach golf tournament, then the Bing Crosby National Golf Tournament. The tournament actually started in 1938 and was just radio, and it was where Dad and Bob Hope and a number of other people had just pulled together these luminaries to attract a few pros. They would drive from all over the country to earn a couple $100, and people would follow around. And in today's words, you'd call it going viral. He would describe himself as a pretty good golfer who could sing a tune. And that is the essence of his demeanor and his modesty.
It's bittersweet because it's the end of an era. It's the end of probably the most glorious era. The joyous part is that the legacy should continue.
This is really to try and sustain the memories that we had of our mother and father and to share kind of what moved them and what inspired them. They really had touched the world in their own way.